Well, thank you very much for having me here at the Universidad Sergio Arboleda. I'm Denise Dimon. I am a faculty member, a professor of economics at the University of San Diego. I also run our International Center for Business, and I'm the Associate Provost for International Affairs. So I'm sort of charged with internationalizing our curriculum, our faculty, and our partnerships. And we're very, very pleased to have a partnership with your university. It was a real pleasure to give a talk here talking about the business and economic environment of Latin America. And it's a subject that is something that has always been of interest to me. I'll give my age a little bit, but 25 years ago I had a Fulbright scholarship in Argentina. And I took my whole family with me, and we had an opportunity to live in Argentina for a while. So I really became very fond of that country and Latin America in general, because I've been to Colombia and Venezuela and Chile and Uruguay and Brazil and many other countries. So even though I'm professionally charged with internationalizing the whole scope of our university, if I have to confess, it's always Latin America that's been the most interesting to me. And the University of San Diego is on the border with Mexico, so we have a lot of ties just in general with Mexico and consequently Central America and Latin America. So Latin America is a very important area for the United States, which is another reason why professionally I've been interested. But what's going on now? And it is kind of interesting. And I hope the discussion made people think a little bit, because right now is sort of a turning point. Latin America has had incredible growth. The strongest area of recovery, I mean, you know, of course China is always out there as real large growth, but in general as a whole area, Latin America recovered the fastest from our last financial crisis of 2008, 2009. But right now, you know, the whole world economy is slowing, and there's a lot of uncertainty, and there seems to be a little bit more uncertain with regards to the future in Latin America, more than other places. And so the question is really why? Because when we look at all of the fundamentals, if we think a little bit about, you know, the sound economic policies, trade integration, I mean, the region is really becoming more integrated and reaching out with Europe and the US, and now free trade agreements in Korea and Singapore, and perhaps an agreement across the Pacific. So there's a lot more integration, more openness. I mean, even now, the president of the World Trade Organization is a Brazilian. So, I mean, the continent is really sort of representing open markets, expanded growth, lots of potential. But right now, there is a slowing. So that's why I say it's a little bit of a turning point. And what are the kinds of things that would cause it to go one way or another? And some of it is in the control of the countries themselves, and some of it isn't. I mean, one of the disadvantages of having a more integrated economy is that means, of course, that we're then now dependent upon other countries. So that what happens in the US, and I'm from the US, I'm not particularly optimistic about good governance in the US. I think we're at a stalemate. I don't know what kind of policies we'll have. We might have just more internal fighting going on. So a lot of the growth of Latin America is very dependent on the growth of the US. Not all countries, of course, but of course Mexico and Central America more than others. But then there's Europe. What's happening in Europe? There's a lot of uncertainty there as well. Again, kind of a turning point there. And foreign investment is slowing in the region. And trade deficits are increasing in the region. So there is, and a lot of that is partly the fault of others. You know, it's not that Latin American companies are less competitive, it's just that there's slower rate of growth elsewhere. We know that China has been pushing a commodity boom and growing, and that's impacted a lot of countries, especially like Peru and Chile, that sells a lot of commodities to Asia. So, like I said, we're at a turning point. What's going to happen? So I can get out my crystal ball as an economist and make some predictions, But I think what's really fueling the slowdown more than anything, because the fundamentals are still strong. I mean, good sound fiscal policy, good open markets, all the things that I've mentioned already, but it's the uncertainty, and business people don't like uncertainty. And so I think what we're going to be seeing over just even the next few months is, you know, how could things do? How could things change? And I don't really have a crystal ball, but I can say that the fundamentals are very sound in the region. Everything is really being done right at the macro, larger level. There's some work that needs to be done at the micro level. Latin America doesn't rank very high on ease of doing business. Sometimes there's a lot of procedures and policies, and Brazil and Argentina, I hate to say this, are ranked like by the World Bank similar to Pakistan and Yemen for the ease of doing business. Not to pick on Pakistan and Yemen or anything, but they aren't really countries that we would hold out there as models to align ourselves with. So some internal policies need to be done, but Chile and Colombia and Mexico are making great strides in this, Peru as well. So there could be, I think, we can't control the external environment, but we can do things at home. When I say we, now I'm talking about the Latin American countries. They can make it easier to do business. They can address, not just been very effective in addressing the larger macro issues that I mentioned, trade agreements, sound fiscal and monetary policies, but there are some social issues that need to be addressed as well. Growing income inequality, and as I mentioned, even some of the infrastructure, and making it easier for businesses to grow and have credit. So there is still some work that needs to be done. I'm very optimistic about the future. Unfortunately, not everything is in Colombia or Brazil's or Chile's control. A lot of it is this external environment. So let's just keep our fingers crossed and hope that the rest of the world can do as well with the sound economic policies that most of the Latin American countries have done over the last few years. Thank you very much for inviting me, and I look forward to visiting again. Thank you.